Hello, I'm Darian Ward, and I am honored to be able to interview the one and the only Barbara Johnson Tucker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So you've done so many live recordings over the years. What is the significance of this live recording and concert?
This concert is being sponsored by Impact Church, and Mr. Eric Harper is the writer of the song. And it's a part of his dream, you know, to see his song materialize into all that it can be. And so he wanted to do a video of the song. And I love live because it allows you to feel the people, and you get so much from the people. It just makes the magic more poignant.
So tell us about the new single.
All That You Have Done was written, as I said, by Eric Harper, at a time when he had just gone through an illness, a life-threatening illness. And when he emerged from that, his heart was so grateful the song came to him. And so when he was telling me about the song and inviting me to join with him on the song, it became another message for me. When I first started this walk, God gave me a song that I wasn't expecting, hadn't planned, you know, didn't have any idea about a song, a hit song. I was just doing a step-off concert. My church wanted to present me in concert, so we did that. But now that God has given me another song, I love it when God gives me presents and things that I don't ask for, you know? It's just, it's a life-renewing thing for me, a rejuvenating spot for me, a second chance for me, not second, but another chance, and to let me know that God is not even through with me.
I had a chance to listen to this song, and your voice is so powerful.
Thank you.
How do you keep that after all these years?
I really do attribute it to, first of all, to grace and favor, you know, the blessings of God. But I do attribute it to my mom and my early teachers. They never let me strain or go to the top of my range. You know, it seems today, if you have a good voice, everybody's always singing at the top of it and just screaming, you know. And I never did do that. I was taught to cover my notes and preserve the beauty and body of the voice. And so I think that's part of it. And I never smoked or did stuff, you know.
The gospel smash, Order My Steps, it still brings goosebumps to me. Tell me about that. How did you do that?
Well, in 1991, I had been at the telephone company for 22 years, and they offered early retirement at a time, I was in my late 40s, and I really was thinking about full-time music ministry and how soon can I get away from here and do what I really want to do.
Your passion, right?
My passion. And they offered early retirement, and it stunned me. And at the time, the minister of music at our church was the wonderfully talented Glenn Burley. And he wrote lots of songs, and he would try them out on the choir. You know, he'd keep us after choir rehearsal and say, let me hear how this sounds. And one night he did that on the words, I want to walk worthy, my calling to fulfill. That was exactly what my heart was saying as I was trying to decide to step away from the telephone company, take this wonderful offer that they made me to bridge my service and retire me at 48. And I'm kind of dumb, you know. God has to make my pathway plain. That's why Psalm 27 is my favorite, because down in there it says, make my pathway plain. I said, God, I can't read between the lines, you know. Show me, make me know that this is from you. And what other way to speak to me than through a song, you know.
You know, you give people goosebumps.
Oh my. You know, I was going to do an album one time, and I was going to call it No Extra Charge for Goosebumps.
Well, that's going to be the next one then, right?
Oh my.
All right.
You've been singing for a generation, so there are a lot of young people out there who may not know you. Tell me something about Barbara Tucker.
But my earliest recollections are of Montgomery and playing with puppies and fishing for crawdads and, being in the country and following my grandfather around, wanting to go fox hunting and smoke cigars.
It sounds like you loved it there. You speak about it with such affection.
I did. I was so well loved there. You know, I'd come back home after every summer. I'd spent all my summers there, and I'd come back home full of red bug bites and ticks in my nails. But I was just free there. I could, you know, I didn't have to be as together, I guess, as I did when I was at home.
Well, how young were you when you started singing?
I cannot remember not singing. Oh, I think the joy and freedom comes from the Lord. I think that comes from the knowledge of being God's child and having the Spirit of the Lord inside you. You know, it's a freedom. I'm not in control of who I am most of the time when I'm singing. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. At the top of virtually every singer's list out there is getting a chance to play at Carnegie Hall. And you were at Carnegie Hall, sort of, but what was that like?
I did. Carnegie Recital Hall. I like to clarify because I don't want to misrepresent, but there is Carnegie Hall, and then there's a little bitty recital hall that is rented out for students or debut concerts and the like. Carnegie Hall holds thousands. Carnegie Recital Hall holds a few hundred. So, but the agent that I had, her name was Ernestine McClendon. She had connections there, and when my mother told her what her desire was for me in New York, she arranged for me to do my debut concert because I hadn't graduated from college. So it was my debut concert at Carnegie Recital Hall, and it came with a reviewer from the Variety or someplace. So I got to do that. It was absolutely unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. Of course, the family was there and we sang together. At the time, it was just something that Ernestine arranged. But when I realized that people had been living and dying to get to New York City to sing in Carnegie Hall, I even sang at the Playboy Club one afternoon. They had a gospel brunch, and I got to sing at the Playboy. I don't think anybody else knows that. It's the first time. But it's remarkable. I know I have God's favor, but I'm kind of embarrassed to tell people that I was there for 9 days and got a part in a Broadway show with James Earl Jones.
Which is where I want to go next. You did Broadway with James Earl Jones. What was that like?
Listen, the reason I went to New York was because I had a friend in high school who graduated, Jack Yates, with me. And he had lived here for a while, but he went back to New York when he graduated high school. So in 1969, when Black was Beautiful, you know, that plaque, I can't think of what it's called. There was a picture of a mother and child, and it was called Black is Beautiful. And all of a sudden, Black artists were welcome and wanted in New York City. So he called me and said, "Barbara, you really ought to come up here right now." So I took 2 weeks off from the post office, and I went to New York, and he had his agent, Ernestine McClendon, to meet me, and I told her I was only going to be there 10 days. You know, I had a ticket, I'm going back home. And she said, "Well, let me send you on some auditions, see how you like things." She sent me everywhere, off-Broadway, off-Broadway, off. And I got every job that I remember that I auditioned for, because churches even put on operettas there. So when the call came for The Great White Hope, they were losing the one singer in the 60-member cast because she needed to sing a song leading the rest of the non-singers every night in the same key, and she was getting married. So Ernestine McClendon only sent me.
Wow.
It was the 8th day that I was there. I was lonesome. I hadn't seen my child in 8 days. I hadn't seen my mama. And I was real lonesome. So when I got there, they put me on a stage with lights. I couldn't see anything or anybody. And they said, "Just sing us something." And I was lonesome, so I sang Motherless Child.
And you got the job.
I got the job. Before I could get back to Ernestine's office, they had called and said, "We want her."
So, what is your hope for all that he has done?
Well, I think it's a very timely piece the world we live in now, we are becoming less and less, I feel, caring for one another, less respect for one another, less humanity, more technical. I really, really am hoping that the world will be more thankful, that we will realize that God is still God. God is in control of our lives, and He has control of everything. We get so proud. We want to be this thing and that thing and pattern our lives after this celebrity or that celebrity. And I really hope that this song will give the world a new, a refreshing of the presence of God in their lives.
And maybe something for people to think about, to sit down and understand, all that God has done for each of us.
Amen.
What's our testimony?
Because the things we thank God for are the things that we really want and we like, But we need to thank God for things that we don't even think about. Let me tell you, somebody called me the other day to see if I qualified for some health test. And she said, now we need to ask you a few questions to see if you qualify for this test we're going to do. She said, have you ever had this? Have you ever had that? She named 25 diseases or conditions. And by the time she got to the end of it, I was crying so hard till I couldn't even finish the interview. God has been so good. We don't even know the diseases that He's kept us from. We don't even think about the things that He's blessed us with that have made the way for the things that we thank Him for, regularly.
You must be so proud. You're working with 3 generations on this project. That must be so wonderful for you.
It's icing on the already iced cake, I tell you. When you birth a child, the desire of your heart is that you will instill in that child everything that he will need to be successful. But a lot of times we don't get to see our children at their workplace, in their regular life. We see them when they come over for dinner or at the family parties. But if I tell you, this is not a joy to have my son and my grandson. Now, I've always had, I pulled Chris in. He's been working with me out in public since he was 5. So that's not a surprise. When I went to Carnegie, Sheila Jackson Lee got me to the Kennedy Center, and the first thing I told her, I've got to get Chris. I got to have Chris come with me. So I'm not surprised that Chris working with me, but to have my grandchildren involved in this, Matthew and Chelsea, is just, I'm telling you, it's icing on the already iced cake.
Well, you've talked about so many of the things that you've done, but you also had a chance to be the anthem soloist for the Houston Oilers for more than a decade. What was that like, being a part of a sports event every week?
Oh, wow, it was amazing. Dr. Benjamin J. Butler, his wife was the minister of music at Jerusalem. So Ben invited me to sing God Bless America with the band. They were a halftime activity. So we did God Bless America. That went over good. And after that, the administration of the Oilers asked me, did I want to do the anthem? I did the anthem, and I kept on doing it for about 14 years. That was amazing. To be in the presence of that many people at one time, I always thought, I wish I could just say, do you know Jesus loves you? I really wanted to witness to all of them, but I got a great blessing. One day when I was coming off the field, I think I had to leave early or something, and I was walking up through the crowd, and a lady leaned over and hollered at me and said, "You're born again Christian, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And that just blessed me so. I think what had happened that day was I was a little hoarse, and they always asked me, "Are you good to go? Because we've got a recording standing by if you get stage fright or something." I said, "No, I'm good to go." So after I sang it, I was scared I wasn't going to hit that note. And when I did hit the note and it came out okay, I said, "Thank you, Jesus." And the camera was still on my face. I didn't utter the words, but you could see it on, they had the big screen and I was up there. So I think that's what the lady was referring to, She said, "You're a born again Christian, aren't you?" I said, "I sure am." And I'm glad it shows. One of the best things, too, was when we won the wild card. I can't remember what year it was. They had not hired a band for the halftime because they didn't think the Oilers were going to get to the wild card. So they didn't have any halftime activity planned, and they asked me to do halftime. So I did a medley of patriotic songs, and I had the cheerleaders. They did have 4 sets of cheerleaders out there. I got them to sing with me, and I got to do "Let's Hear It for the Boys" with the cheerleaders. That was the most fun. But those were some wonderful years. I didn't get paid any money. I only got tickets, but I got to take friends to the game with me, and Mr. Bud Adams would invite me to. When they go to Chamber of Commerce or dinners or anything, and introduce me as a part of the order team.
What is your message to a lot of young singers out there who aspire to do what you do?
I've been singing for my supper, I guess, for 22 years now, almost 23. I don't know, just do what you do for God. No other reason, not to be, because I'm not famous, I'm not rich, certainly not, and I'm not a lot of things, but I'm happy. Oh my goodness, I'm happy, and I'm blessed to be in the center of God's will. I think that's the most important thing, to be all that God intended you to be, and I am just so grateful. I have gotten to sing under some of the greatest musicians and all of that, and I'm just blessed. There's a joy that I don't think you have if you just sing for stuff.
So at this stage of your career, what is left to accomplish besides the new CD and new single that's coming out?
Girl, God is in charge of this. I don't know. I thought that it was time for me to start hanging up my ballerina shoes. I've been preparing that things are going to change. I gave up my website last year, my P.O. box. I thought, I could cut back on that money and cut back on this money. Had to have a new website. So, because I don't know what's going to happen. I know that I'm not going to stop praising God. And wherever God wants to take me, I'm willing to go.
So tell us about your relationship with Doranor Music.
I don't think I've prayed for a producer or sponsor in a long, long time. When I first started this, I kind of expected someday a record company would come and make me a record deal or whatever. Well, nobody ever did, so I just did my own thing, To have that happen at this point in my life, it's like having an angel drop down from heaven and say, I've got a job for you. I want you. I am speechless. The company is wonderful. They are gentlemen. They are men of God. They do what they say they're going to do. And I couldn't ask for anything more. It's unbelievable. I am in awe.
Who were some of the greatest influences on your music career early on?
Oh, certainly my mother. You know that. My mother, and she exposed me to, all kinds of music. I loved the movies that had the musicals, and all of that. I used to say she raised me on everything from Louis Jordan to Rachmaninoff. And she taught us to appreciate every kind of music, every kind of person. That there was beauty in everything, that God was in everything, and we must appreciate the godness of everything and everybody. So that, and Hazel Lewis Anderson from Jack Yates High School, we were talking about my teachers before. I had the best teachers all the way through school. I mean, I didn't go to college fully, but if I tell you I had a college education with the teachers that I had in Houston at the time, it was just amazing. And not to mention the choir directors. Oh my gosh, I have studied with some of the best.
You have literally performed around the world in so many places. What are some of your favorite places?
Well, one of my
favorite places you performed, I should be more specific.
Yes, Hawaii. I love, Bill Miller was the pastor at Trinity. Did you remember Bill?
Yeah,
Did you ever meet Bill? Oh, he's now in New Orleans. I'm going to be with him at the end of August. I love singing for Bill. He is so appreciative of black divas. He loves us. And I really, really loved Hawaii and singing there. The Hawaiian people are beautiful, and they love music, and it's just wonderful there. And all of the great concert halls in Amsterdam. You know, I went to Holland every year for about 7 years, and that was glorious because the people love music so much. I could sing. We sang Jesus Christ Superstar, they'd fall out. We'd sing Dutch Christmas carols, they'd fall out. You know, it was just wonderful. I don't know. Everywhere I go is special. So, but I did love the concert hall in Amsterdam.
My name is William A. Bill Lawson, and most people know me as Bill Lawson. I am the pastor emeritus of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. For 42 years, I was the pastor, and I retired 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago, and am followed by the Reverend Marcus D. Cosby. But that's who I am, and most of all, I'm Bill Lawson, Houstonian. Okay, I guess most of what I'm saying is that I've known Barbara Johnson Tucker since a long time before she was Tucker. And I knew her as a member of our church. We were all members of Jerusalem Baptist Church. And so I knew her as part of a family. I knew her as the Johnson family. And Annie Johnson had a great maiden name, didn't she? Her maiden name is Lawson. And so I got a chance to know them that way. But Barbara, Joy, and I didn't know this man's name was Chris. He was Bud. Or Bud's her brother? Yeah, Bud's her brother. Okay. But I got a chance to know them as the Johnson family, and they sang around the church. He graduated from Jack Yates High School, and I can remember the first time I heard her sing before a large crowd was like a Jack Yates homecoming or something like that. But she sang anthems, and she sang the anthems at the Oilers games, at the Rockets games, and you just reminded me that she sang at Barbara Jordan's funeral. But she sang for the president, and I guess what I remember most of all, as I listened to this song just now, is not how well she sang. She was not just a talent, she was a spirit. And the way that she delivered her songs was with kind of incomparable joy. When she sang at a funeral, it wasn't so much to mourn with the bereaved. It was to celebrate the life of the person who had died. So when I think of Barbara Johnson Tucker, I think of Barbara as part of a family, and in the same way that I think of Kermit, who died, but who was your daddy, and I think that Barbara carried that spirit on with her family, and with that sense of joy. I don't know how many octaves she sings. Is she a contralto? Is she an alto? Is 3 octaves? But she has a huge range. But really, I think of her most of all as the spirit with which she sang, more than as the talent with which she sang. So I'm glad that she has produced this album, and that song, I Thank You, Lord, is a magnificent expression of her life. That was Barbara Johnson Tucker. She never sang just with a skill. She always had a smile, and that smile radiated in a way that showed her life. And I think in a sense the whole Johnson family life. I'm glad to see this young man, her grandson, because I think that he carries on that Johnson family tradition. I know his name is Tucker, but I think that he carries on that tradition of a family that loves God and loves people and always celebrates and radiates it.
What is your hope for the world we live in?
Oh my goodness, I think I've already told you, God consciousness. There was a time in my life when I was growing up, that God was the center of everything. God started the TV show in the morning and ended the television when it cut off at night. Every day I see less and less God. I see people excluding God for this reason or that reason. I see people trying to reason God. I hope a better God awareness. I hope to start a revival in America, and that we will become a much more loving and be a Christian nation one more time.